Hey guys, Jim here with another video for you. This is 50 Years in Film, 2016. But before we begin, at the end of this video, if you like what you see, please consider giving me a thumbs up, a possible subscribe, but most importantly, please leave those comments below. I love corresponding back and forth with all of you. I love discussing movies with you. Now, before we begin, we're going to start off with the normal caveats. These are not all of the films from 2016, far from it. These are simply the films that I own in my collection. Also, this is not a ranking video of any kind. Again, this is simply a recap of some of the films that came out in 2016. And also, before we begin, I screwed up. I haven't done it in a while, but I did. I forgot a title from 2015. So before we begin 2016, we're going to start off with the title from 2015 that I forgot, and that is Sinister 2. The follow-up to Sinister, of course. This one stars James Ransom, reprising his role as Deputy So-and-so from the original. Doesn't hold a candle to the original. The original one's a great movie. This one, it's okay. Okay, now we're going to start 2016 proper. We're going to start off in animation. The first one on the list is Sing. With an all-star cast of voices, including Matthew McConaughey, Reese Witherspoon, Scarlett Johansson, and Taron Egerton. This is like an American Idol type movie with animals, but it is. It's cute. Then we have The Secret Life of Pets, starring the voices of Louis C.K., Eric Stonestreet, many others. Very funny movie. Then we have Zootopia, starring the voices of Jason Bateman, and I forget what her name is. I could see her in my eyes, but I cannot remember her name. But I'm sorry. Very good movie. Then we have, this is wrong. Sorry. This should be Finding Dory. Never mind. Finding Dory came out. I grabbed the wrong one. I will make that correction on the next video. Then we've got a couple of Disney live-action remakes from their animated properties. The first one that came out was The Jungle Book, directed by Jon Favreau, and starring the voices of Bill Murray and Christopher Walken. I had mixed feelings about this when it was announced and when it came out, and because I absolutely loved the original animated film, and I gotta admit, this movie blew me away. It is fantastic. Out of all of the live action remakes that Disney has done, this one is still the best. Then we've got Pete's Dragon. This is a much, much darker version of that original classic starring Helen Reddy. But again, this is a really good movie. Very rough for small children. I would not recommend this to any child under the age of 10. Now we're switching over to comedy. The first one we have is Everybody Wants Some. Written and directed by Richard Linklater, and starring an ensemble cast including Wyatt Russell. This is like a spiritual follow-up to Dazed and Confused. Dazed and Confused took place in a high school in the 70s. This one takes place in a college in the 80s. Then we've got some outrageous comedy for you. The first one, and it doesn't get much more outrageous than this, The Brothers Grimsby, starring Sacha Baron Cohen, Mark Strong, Penelope Cruz, and Rebel Wilson. This movie was a huge flop. It came and went very quickly. Most people completely forgot about this movie until recently when Rebel Wilson released her biography. Apparently there was some shenanigans going on behind the scenes. I don't know how accurate that is. It's a case of he said, she said. Regardless, that's neither here nor there. This movie is absolutely hysterical. It is very disgusting, very outrageous, very offensive, and very funny. Just like this one. Sausage Party. And you can see the cast in this one. Seth Rogen, Kristen Wiig, Jonah Hill, Bill Hader. This movie's hilarious. It is, again, filthy, disgusting, offensive, sexist. It is gross. It's every negative thing you could possibly think of. I think it's hysterically funny. There is a spin-off series of this, like, apparently coming either to Prime or to Apple TV, one of the two, I'm not sure. But yeah, I love this movie. And the last comedy on the list, but certainly not the least, The Nice Guys. Written and directed by Shane Black and starring Russell Crowe, Ryan Gosling, Kim Basinger, and Keith David. I love Shane Black. I think he's hysterically gifted as a writer. This is my favorite movie from him. As much as I love Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, which I absolutely do, I think this one's just a little bit better. And a lot of that has to do with the chemistry between the two leads. This was the first time I really noticed Ryan Gosling as a comedic actor. He is absolutely hysterically funny in this movie. If you've never seen The Nice Guys, check it out. Then we've got a couple of properties directed at the younger audience. The first, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, starring Eva Green and Samuel L. Jackson. This is a pretty wild movie, man. I've only seen this once. I wasn't really paying attention to it. My wife got this because she was interested in it. And hey, it's got Eva Green in it, so of course I watched it. But there's some really dark imagery in this movie, man. Yeah, I don't remember much about it, but I remember when I watched it with her, I was entertained. Then we've got Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, starring Eddie Redmayne. And I don't know who else because I have never seen this movie. This is in the Harry Potter universe. Never saw any of those movies. Never saw any of these movies. And the last young adult movie on the list, Allegiant. The third and what turned out to be the final chapter of the Divergent series. There was a fourth movie planned to close it out, but this movie did not make money at all, and that movie was put into turnaround. They were talking about turning it into a cable movie at one point, and when that was announced, all of the stars involved said, nope, we didn't sign on to do a TV movie, so they've never finished the story. Now we're into action. The first one on the list, London Has Fallen, starring Gerard Butler, Aaron Eckhart, and Morgan Freeman. This one was directed by, because it wasn't Fuqua, I know that, Babark Najari. That's why I didn't know. Don't recognize that filmmaker's name. Follow-up to Olympus Has Fallen. Not as good as that one, but still very, very entertaining, action-packed movie. But this one's on a different level. Hacksaw Ridge. Directed by Mel Gibson. And starring Andrew Garfield, Hugo Weaving, Sam Worthington, and Vince Vaughn. Hacksaw Ridge is based on a true story, which is an incredible story. If I wouldn't have known this was based on fact, I wouldn't have believed it. Because this is truly a miracle. Even if the story is hyped up and made look more dramatic because of Hollywood standards, doesn't matter. This is an incredible story about an incredible American hero. I cannot recommend this film enough. Mel Gibson is a great director, and this is a fantastic film. Now we're switching over to superheroes, and we got a lot of them in this year. The first, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. Directed by Zack Snyder. And starring Ben Affleck, Henry Cavill, Amy Adams, Lawrence Fishburne, and Gal Gadot. I don't like this movie that much. I haven't seen this movie in years. I just picked this one up recently to complete the DC Batman universe, that Zack Snyder started. I have not seen the director's cut, so I am going to watch that before I post my rankings for the year. But I did not like the theatrical cut of this movie at all. Following that trend, DC had a rough year that year. Suicide Squad. Starring Will Smith, Jared Leto, Viola Davis. Directed by David Ayer. This movie's not very good. The only best things about this movie is right there. Margot Robbie is Harley Quinn. She's great in this movie. The rest of it, not so much. Okay, then we're going to my X-Men collection. And more specifically, the Younger Generation trilogy with the third and final installment, X-Men Apocalypse. Directed by Bryan Singer and starring James McAvoy, Michael Fassbender, and Oscar Isaacs. This movie sucks. I just did the X-Men rankings. There was 11 films in that set. This one came in at number 10. Then we've got Doctor Strange, starring Benedict Cumberbatch. Here we go with his name again. We'll start off with the easy one. Rachel McAdams and Benedict Wong. We could start with those. Tilda Swinton. And here we go. I gotta look at it all the time, but I can't find it here. Oh, Mads Mikkelsen. I forgot about him too. You know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Mordo, who is an incredibly, incredibly great actor. Chilty Alici for whatever the hell his name is. Directed by Scott Derrickson. This is a trippy movie, man. It is a trippy movie. First time I watched this movie, I thought I was on an acid trip without taking acid. The visuals in this movie are great. I mean, yeah, they're directly inspired from Inception. There's no doubt about that. But my God, this is an extremely entertaining film. But then we've got Captain America, Civil War. Or as I call it, Avengers 2.5. Directed by the Russo brothers. And starring Chris Evans, Robert Downey Jr., and the whole group. Fantastic, fantastic movie. This introduced Tom Holland as Spider-Man to the MCU. Great film. Absolutely top-tier MCU. But the biggest breath of fresh air from the superhero genre that year, without a doubt, was Deadpool. Directed by Tim Miller and starring Ryan Reynolds, Ed Skrein. Deadpool is so good. It is so damn funny. And that same ranking video that I did of all the X-Men franchise movies, Deadpool came in at number 2. I absolutely love this movie. Now we're going into science fiction. We're starting off with the big boy in the room that year. Star Wars. Or actually, Rogue One. A Star Wars Story. Directed by Gareth Edwards. This is a fantastic Star Wars film. When I heard that they were doing a prequel, another prequel film that bridged the gap between episode 3 and episode 4 and was going to show you how they got those plans to the Death Star, I thought, all right, I know how this movie's going to end. And I did know how this movie was going to end. Didn't matter. Rogue One is a great, great film in that universe. It is the most grounded out of all the films. This movie feels like Saving Private Ryan in space. I love it. Then we've got Star Trek Beyond, the third film in the reboot Kelvin timeline, starring Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Carl Urban, and Zoe Saldana. I saw this movie when it first came out on video 10 years ago. I have not seen it since. I remember I enjoyed it, but I need to rewatch it because I honestly do not remember it at all. Then we've got Arrival, starring Amy Adams, Forrest Whitaker, and Jeremy Renner, directed by Denis Villeneuve. This is an incredible film that, quite honestly, the first time I saw it, I did not enjoy. Like Interstellar, the first time I saw this film, it went right over my head. And then I watched it again, and it clicked, and I realized how special this film really is. Great film. Now we're starting to slowly go into horror, but we still got a science fiction angle here with 10 Cloverfield Lane, starring Mary Elizabeth Winstead, John Gallagher Jr., and in an incredible performance, John Goodman. This is the follow-up to Cloverfield, but I don't really consider it a sequel. It's more like a sister story. It shows you different events happening around the same time. It has nothing really to do with the original film. However, this is a great, entertaining film. It is not a found footage film like the original. This is a traditionally shot movie. And again, it's more or less a 3-character play, and Goodman is absolutely incredible in this movie. I really like this movie a lot. Then we've got The Purge, Election Year, the third chapter in the Purge saga, directed by James DeMonaco again, and starring Frank Grillo, Elizabeth Mitchell, and Michael T. Williamson. See, I knew he was in one of them. Michael K. Williams was in Anarchy, by the way. This is my favorite of the Purge movies. This movie rocks. It is so much fun, and it moves. It's got a great story. I really, really like Election Year. The most surprising horror movie that year, Train to Busan, from South Korea. This is a new form of zombie movie, I guess, or you could compare it to 28 Days Later, because I don't think these people are dead. I think they're just infected by a virus again. But my God, is this movie great. I generally don't like running zombie movies, although Dawn of the Dead is the exception. This movie's fantastic. This one and Dawn of the Dead, to me, are the two best zombie-related films in the new millennium. Cannot stress how great this movie is. But I'm ending on this one. Don't Breathe. Directed by Fede Alvarez and starring Jane Levy, Dylan Minnette, and in a career best performance, Stephen Lang. Stephen Lang has been one of my favorite actors for years. He's that character actor that everybody knows, everybody loves, but until this movie came out, a lot of people didn't know his name. He was always, hey, it's that guy from whatever. He finally gets to take center stage, and he does the most with it. This movie's incredible. It's subversive. It induces paranoia. It is just so good. And what's really wild about it is, even though Stephen Lang plays a despicable person who does some despicable things, there are times in this movie that you sympathize with him and understand why he is doing some of these horrible things that he is doing. You might not agree with him, but from a certain demented point of view, you can understand why. I love this movie. And again, Stephen Lang is an incredible actor, and he is absolutely incredible in this movie. If you've never seen Don't Breathe, please check it out. It is a great, great tense movie. And that's the way we're ending 2016. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, a possible subscribe, and most importantly, leave a comment below. Let me know how you felt about these films, and we'll catch you on the next one.